And this is an excellent question, by the way, very, very well articulated. As the owner of a family-owned business, much of my retirement plan seems to hinge on the company's continued success after my retirement. How do I keep my retirement plan focused on me while still making sure my succession plan for the company is successful? Successful succession plan, say that 3 times fast. I think this is something that you see a lot with, if you founded a construction company and you run it for 20 to 30 years, most likely, if it's growing at a decent clip, most likely you've built a very successful business, but you've remained relatively cash poor throughout. So that the biggest piece of your net worth is really tied up in that construction company. And for you to get that out, that business has to go continue to operate. A construction company isn't something you just turn off the lights and walk, say, okay, go ahead and cash out my chips. I'm all done, like you're in Vegas. It's something that you're right. It has to keep running. So how does one kind of manage that? And I think that goes hand in hand with that over-involvement that we talked about. It goes hand in hand, future vision of the company. What do you see, good and bad?
Well, several things, right? One is that the easy button for some of this is there are many, CPA, financial management type firms that come in and will literally help with the calculation on what your ownership is, what it's worth, help you with whether that's, again, selling to your kids, giving to your kids, whether that's selling, going into an ESOP type mode. We'll talk through the strategies of which of those might make the most sense, and then put together the literal plan on how to get that money back out. That leaves at least less risk than leaving it all in the business, but that the new owners are able to buy you out over an amount of time. So the financial side, when it comes to the technical aspects, is really some of the easier things to get your arms around. It's many decisions. It's a lot of what do I want the culture of my company to look like going forward. Again, is it an ESOP? Is it what exactly do you want that structure to look like? But those things can be fairly concrete. They can be written down. A plan can be put in place. They can be taken care of. The bigger issue is getting to that point, right? Because in this particular person's question, right, that the retirement plan seems to hinge on the company's continued success, and then how do you keep a retirement plan focused, on yourself? And the big thing is making sure that the succession plan is in order ahead of time. We talked earlier about that, right? Do you have people in the organization with the right culture that walk and talk the same that you did? Did you take the time? Did you talk to them? Did you talk to everyone involved about how you want the company to, and I'll say buy you out, right? How do you want that to proceed? Is everyone on board with that so that the money can come in at a certain rate, so that people can take ownership at a certain rate? A lot of it is all the plans laid before you go. Is it laid out so that everyone understands? Is it laid out so that everyone buys in? Is it laid out in such a way that the company will continue to succeed because you have done nothing but set it up for success? So there's a lot to be talked about there. But really, once you're retired, and certainly before that, but your retirement has to be focused on you because it's your life. If you're going to continue to be concerned about how, again, the financial side of how the money's going to come in, that should have been done before you left the company. That should have been in place in the, whatever whatever structure you wanted it to be, whatever structure made sense with that company, that once you are on your retirement masterpiece, you're ready to go. It feels to me from this very particular question, right, is that this is a person who is yet on a plan where it is the paint by the numbers. It is the I have these little check marks taken care of, but maybe not the full my life is my life and I'm going to glide from one to the next. So I think there's, if nothing else, there's some work to be done to talk to this person about what retirement means to them so that we can back into getting the answer that will help to support what retirement means to them. So, David, your thoughts?
Yeah, I reminded me, in this question when you talked earlier about, there's these two roads and sometimes they'll diverge and then they'll come back together. And that really, just because I'm a construction, person, it does come back to the construction process. I mean, when you first start with this concept for a building or a project, that's just it. And you've got this road and this vision in your head, but then there's times where you got other constituents that are going to come in, especially for a massive infrastructure project, and you've got to get them on board. And sometimes it seems like the wheels are going to come off and those roads diverge, and you help navigate them back together. And I think one of the things as a lot of contractors, and this is something that I've realized over time, is that for a lot of contractors, we're not really involved in the process until we've got the construction drawings and we're out there and we're just starting to go work. Actually, our job is relatively simple. When you look at the whole scheme of going from concept through, now construction and then owning and operating this project for, 20, 40, 100 years after the construction's complete and maintaining it. And so when we look at we tend to think then a bit of retirement should be almost that paint by numbers, much like a hard bid construction project should be. And it's just not. You really have to back it up and look at it like starting at the programming phase of the architectural, phases, and then moving into some general schematic design and helping navigate these two things together. And you have to do that, personally. You have to do it with the business as it sits now, and the business as it sits in the future. And those roads all have to ultimately generally line up. And it'll never be perfect, but that's why there's ongoing management of it. I think people always forget that construction costs are really only 30% or 50% or so, give or take, of the overall project cost of delivery. And then, an architectural and engineering fees are about 6% of that overall total construction cost. As a contractor, it's easy for us to sit there after the fact and just say, oh, well, this didn't work. But really, it's pretty minor what didn't work on a construction project as compared to the 99% of the things that actually did work. But it's because all that time and energy was spent navigating the plan up front. And I look at the retirement plan the same way. So Sue, that was the second one. Now, this next one, and just let you know, it's a little bit hard. Are you ready? Are you
sure,
ready?
Bring it on.
Okay.